I have quietly spent the past 48 hours sinking my teeth inside of the new simulated universe mode that's been implemented in the latest patch for Honkai Star Rail. And I can say with the utmost confidence that we can unanimously agree that the development team behind HSR is on fire and they're doing God's work. I'm incredibly proud of this development team. It seems that they are pretty much doing everything we want them to do. It's actually a bit of a bittersweet scenario because I think we can all agree, especially those of us who have moved on from Genshin, this is everything we wanted the development team to do for Genshin back when we were playing it. This mode has offered us a multifaceted, nuanced, intricate depth with complexity, and most importantly, an in-game variant that we can sink our teeth into and digest and truly explore, enjoy, get creative with, make content out of. And even if it's a one-time completion, it has so much depth and nuance to it that by the time you get tired of it, they're probably going to be releasing something else. What I find interesting about this is that the excuses that people would make for Genshin Impact when the end game that we all wanted never came was, oh, the story's still progressing and they're still expanding upon regions. Once they do all these things, then they can do that, but you're complaining too soon. I do find these things funny because in Honkai Star Rail, the story is still expanding, the regions are still expanding, the game is still growing, and they're still giving us the things we have been wanting as those variables are progressing on. And I think this obviously proves that those excuses simply weren't warranted. It also proves that they just did not prioritize that, which makes sense. Again, I think they've been established a long time ago that most of their consumer base was just the casual gamer who wanted nothing to do with challenge. And let me tell you something, speaking of challenge and things to do, I'm actually a bit overwhelmed with the amount of things there are to do right now in Honkai Star Rail. I think I feel a little bit of excessive anxiety coming on to me. Just kidding. Honkai Star Rail development team, just kidding. All right, it was a joke. Relax, keep bringing it. All right, I'd rather have shit on my plate, too much shit on my plate, than nothing at all. No, but all jokes aside, I'm not kidding. I'm thoroughly impressed. I haven't seen anything negative from the community either. I think everyone is actually really happy with this mode. I've tried to learn everything there is to learn about it before I spoke on it because, again, I don't like speaking on things I have limited information about. And man, I'm impressed. Every path, I love the unique exclusivity that the path has when you're going inside of the little puzzle part. For example, I went down the elation path and it was like a video game mode. Basically, the roles that I would get could turn a occurrence question mark into a game. Whereas when I went down the destruction path, it was the meathead path. It was the goddamn Bakugo / Vegeta path, where all you do is turn everything into a fight and duke it out, bro. But I love this. This was such a cool thing to experience for me. I'm still, by the way, going through multiple paths. But that unique exclusivity to each path that made it just separate itself from the other paths to give the path its own image, its own definition, that's something I could truly appreciate. And then moving on to what everybody's also been talking about, the challenge of this new mode. Is it more difficult than the Memory of Chaos? You know, if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't think it's more difficult than the Memory of Chaos. I think there's a huge learning curve, and once people learn that learning curve and they learn all the tricks and trade and the intricacies and everything there is to unravel, the difficulty of the mode will definitely come down. Not to mention there's still a lot of innate hidden abilities for every single path that just simply unlocks as you play the mode. So I'm not going to sit here and say it's a lot of people are saying this, like almost every creator, Memory of Chaos is so much easier than this mode. Not necessarily. If I'm being completely honest with you, I one-tapped World 4. And every world before that too. I have not done World 5 yet, but I'm somebody who really understands the game, so I can't see myself losing to World 5 either. So it depends on what you have to understand the path that you're going down. What are you doing? What does the path consist of? What is the purpose of it? And if you don't know what you're doing, I can easily see it being a nightmare. But if you do know what you're doing, it's not ridiculous. It's not a Souls game, guys. Let's just call it like that. Like when I think of challenge, I got my shit kicked in like 5 to 10 times before completing it once, right? So For me, it's definitely, no doubt about it, a challenge. But in terms of like what I've been seeing everybody else say, like, oh my God, it's so hard. I think people are just so used to the casualness of the gacha genre that they think this shit is just overwhelmingly difficult. Maybe I'll put out a guide so that I can explain my thoughts and experience and how I go about going down these paths, and maybe that'll help. But overall, apart from that, I'm loving everything about this simulated universe mode. I'm not kidding. There's so much to talk about. If there is lore you want, it's there for you to extract. If there's challenge you want, it's there for you to have. If there is nuance and creativity, you can go down a particular path, and now they've added like a subclass concept where you go, it's still linear to go down the path and obtain the 9 blessings, but now you can obtain 3 blessings from a different path, and now you get this like kind of synergy combo oriented ability that takes the abilities from each particular path and kind of fuses them together, if you get what I'm saying. But continuing on, they've basically added even more depth and complexity to the simulated universe's foundation, which is something I was talking about on Tecton's podcast. And that's why I'm so proud, because I was saying on that podcast, the simulated universe is just a perfect foundation for growth to expand upon and add so many more elements to it. I brought up TFT, but they had another plan in mind. I do think this is something that can have some replayability. I don't think it's going to be a weekly thing, because that would just be too much shit to get done in a week for a lot of people, I would say, that don't have as much time as the teenager. But I can see it being a bi-weekly or maybe even a monthly thing where they kind of like, you know, refresh the rewards, and then or maybe they change up the format. Because I'll be honest, right now it's looking heavily favored towards Imbiber Lune and Xing Shui. So are they going to switch that up? Because I don't want it to always be weak to the imaginary and quantum elements. Maybe in a month from now, it'll be weak to fire and wind elements, and switch up the favoritism depending on, I guess, who they're promoting at that time. So that is one little concern of mine. I want to make sure that they are constantly updating that in correlation with who they're promoting. Because if they keep it the same, I'm going to view that as a bit of a lazy move, but we'll see what happens with that. But over the net, you know, it's first world problems complain at that point. Now, going back to the TFT topic, there is something I would like to see implemented in here that TFT does have. Now, it doesn't have to be in the game. It can also come from an external website, because that's how TFT does it. But I would like to go to either an external website or a different panel inside of the video game where I could formulate and will pre-formulate my strategy around the path I'm trying to test out. What I mean by this is I would like to build my path out before going into the simulated mode, because I want to know the buffs that I want to choose beforehand. That way, when they do pop up on the 3 buff screen, I already know what I'm looking for. This just like gives it a little bit more structure and organization, so that I'm not sitting here trying to remember, oh, what am I trying to get? Oh yeah, the damage one that distributes the damage amongst all my party members. I would like to have some type of external website I could go to, or panel in the game, where I can make this build before I even go into the simulated universe mode. I think this is not something that is making it easier. It's just making it more, it's a QOL. It's making it much more comfortable to play and experience. But overall, guys, I cannot stress to you how proud I am of this team for this development. I think every creator out there is pretty happy about it, because there's a lot of content to make, you know what I mean? Well, maybe you want to make some type of unique blade build somebody else hasn't made yet and clear the simulated universe 5, because that's what challenge does. Now that it's more challenging, it's more respect when you think of those innovative and builds that consist of ingenuity. You know, it's like, oh shit, he cleared World 5 with a blade build that went Remembrance Path, and he kept a perma froze, and his follow-up attack kept triggering. You get what I'm saying? It's things like that that bring excitement back into a game and revitalize the hype. I'm getting all over the place because I'm super excited, but I really wanted to share my thoughts with you guys, because as always, I know a lot of you are interested in where my headspace is. I wonder what Gotcha Smack thinks about this mode. Maybe he hates it because he always seems to have a differentiating opinion from everybody else. No, I am loving it. I think everything everybody's saying is for the most part relatively true. I am excited to see where they're going to go next with this, because I do feel there's even more potential, because every time they add a new element into this simulated universe, my brain just like scatters out into the universe like, oh my God, they can do this, and that. But then I have to bring myself back down to earth and say, okay, they did just drop this. I'm pretty sure there was a ridiculous monumental amount of work ethic that went into even putting this in the game, especially considering how they just refused to do it in Genshin. let me calm down. Let's get through it as a community. Let's learn, let's teach everybody, educate them on how to play this mode so that we're all on the same page. Then they get that and they're like, okay, nobody's tripping out, nobody's having excessive anxiety. Let's put some more up in this bad boy. You know, let me know you guys' thoughts down below, please. I would love to hear your feedback as well. I think the last thing there is to point out is that there's over 5,000 resource utilized to make your limited banner wishes to collect in this mode as well. Like, goddamn, bro, they're just crushing it. As always, peace, love, and happiness. Thanks for listening. There will be guides coming out, and I will be trying to get creative with build paths and stuff to show you guys how we can have some fun inside of this simulated universe mode and clap them goddamn cheeks. Take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you on the flip side.